Sports card hobby friends, how are we doing? It is another day, another card video. Before I get started, the topic today is going to be our graded population reports, or the growth in graded cards killing sports card investing for certain cards. And we'll kind of go through some data. I will share with you exactly what I am talking about here. But first off, wanted to say thank you and give a quick life update. Don't worry, I know you're here for card stuff, so I won't take too long here, but just wanted to share, man, our family has had a beast of a summer, so I'm ready to kind of get out and move into fall. We've had 2 deaths in the family, and it looks like there's going to be a third coming up. Kim's grandfather is on hospice care, and so it's just been one thing after the other. I've got 4 kids. My youngest is autistic, and they all have their own struggles, but he's really struggling adapting to a new school. And man, it's funny how just some things in your life can change you. And I had 3 kids, and I thought I kind of knew about parenting and the way things worked and this and that. But the 4th one really thrown us for a loop. He is unbelievable, this kid. Struggle, I think, of course, with parents or just people that have folks that are neurodiverse in their family is just getting the world to understand them, and for them to kind of be able to cope in the world in a way that, to where they can get by and, they grow up and they have jobs and they can be productive adults. I think that's the goal for any parent. But when you have, a child that is neurodiverse and, sees the world in a different way, unbelievable brilliance, but at the same time, not able to necessarily pick up on social cues or understand how things operate in the classroom or, out in the world, it's a big challenge. And so that's kind of what we're going through now. It's a humbling experience. I will say too, if you run across, maybe someone that just comes across, oh, that person is weird or that person is strange, take a step back and just think, they might have, some things going on. There might be other challenges that person is facing. It might not be that they're just weird. This has been a big growth spot for me. It's opened my eyes to a totally different perspective. So, all right, I won't go on and on, but on the heels of kind of the summer that we've had, I just wanted to say thank you to you all. The 60 to 90 minutes that I take to make a video every day, it is kind of a release, from just a lot of the daily type stuff that we're all facing. We're all facing these sorts of things. I don't mean to tell you this as some sort of a pity party. It's just more of, hey, we're all going through life stuff, and that's mine, and this has been a nice release for me. So thank you very much for sticking with me, through the thick and the thin. I know a lot of you have been watching since the very beginning. Speaking of having some fun, tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, off-centered, it will be myself, Flipping Steve, and Neo Cards and Comics will be multi-streaming, simulcasting, or whatever the word is, on all of our channels. We'll just be talking about random hobby stuff. I will be manning the chat, so you don't have to worry about a thing. I will stay up to date on all of the chat thingies. Also, big thanks to today's video sponsor, VeriSwap. They have lowered their fees down from 3% to 1.5 and 1.25 for transactions that are over $10,000. They are verifying these things. They are kind of that third-party verifier, so you're not meeting people in a back alley to make a trade, or at having to meet at a police station or something to make sure that the trade goes right. VeriSwap can help you there. I'll put a link down below. Take you to the VeriSwap app, so check them out. All right, friends, it is no secret. We've talked about it. Grading companies are grading some cards. They're grading a lot of cards. And I was thinking, what sort of effect has all the extra graded cards onto the market? Does that have a huge effect on price points? And of course, the obvious answer is yes. What percentage it is, we don't necessarily know. Supply and demand, always a moving target, especially demand. And I think that's part of the problem here. Right now, we are in a bearish market. We are in a bearish card market for a lot of cards. Not every card, but for a lot of cards. Prices have come down pretty dramatically. I think that we can agree on that. I have to concede that a lot of this probably has to do with just the fact that there is so much more graded supply. So we're going to use a few examples here using the Market Movers tool. We're going to look at population growth over time and really over the last couple of years. Companies like PSA, SGC, CGC, Beckett, they have been grading some more cards than they have in their history over the last couple of years. We're going to focus in on PSA just to kind of use the company that's really graded the most cards over the last couple of years. Just makes it easier to look at data. So let's look at one in particular card that I did own. I don't own anymore. 1988 Fleer Scottie Pippen rookie card in a PSA 8. And you can really take a look at any card within Market Movers and see kind of this population growth, because you're probably going to see this across the board with a lot of different cards, unless you're buying numbered cards out of 10, numbered cards out of 5, out of 99. Kind of the reason why there is a focus around serial numbered cards. But that's a different video, and we've covered that over the last couple of videos. Scottie Pippen 88 Fleer PSA 8 rookie card. If we go back to December of 2020, so really as we're climbing into, the boom. 2020, there was some boom time, but really kind of moving into the big bonanza that was first quarter 2021. By no means is this a rare card. 88 Fleer basketball, pretty heavily printed, and in an 8, that's a fair grade to where if you have a nice copy of it, it's tough to get into a 9 and a 10, but a lot of cards land in that 8 spot. So 3,100 cards back in December 2020. Now there are 5,600 cards as of August 27th. So we're talking about almost double. We're talking about a 75% increase in the number of graded PSA 8 Scottie Pippen cards. And if you look over the last couple of years, price point, again, if you go back to 2020, 2021, $90, $100. And yes, we did have some Mount Everest spikes in there, but kind of average price point as prices had moved up was about $90, $100. Now it sits at about $40 to $50 for that card. And part of it is demand, but the other part is there's just so many more out there. It's a very available card. Next, let's go to a vintage card, one that I own 2 copies of. Roger Staubach rookie card in a PSA 6. This is 1972 Topps, and I picked 6 because it's a fairly available card. When you start going up into the grades, you start getting into the higher grades, there are less population growth over time. But remember, most of these cards are going to fall into the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6. Part of the reason why high grade vintage is that much more expensive, 7, 8s, 9s, and 10s, which don't exist for a lot of vintage stuff. So if we go back to December 2020, 1972 Topps Roger Staubach rookie card, we got 695 copies of the card. Now, going back a couple weeks, 8/27, August 27th, we're up to 940 copies. There's 50%, roughly 50% more copies now, 3 years later, in a PSA 6 grade than there was going back. And I bought this card in 2020. I bought a copy. I'm going to see if I can put a picture of my purchase up. And I bought it for $225. There was a recent sale at $215. So, and that's before you had a lot of big price increases. There was a little bit of price increases going back to August 2020. So there was price increases, but it hadn't really gone peak until 2021. So the card is basically back to where it was, in 2020, a little bit less, potentially. So I thought that was interesting looking at a pretty popular vintage football card. And last but certainly not least, let's look at a modern card, star player playing right now in the NFL, Patrick Mahomes. This one's got a caveat to it. We'll talk through that. So 2017 Mahomes Prism rookie in a PSA 9. I did own a couple copies of this card and sold them kind of during the craziness. If we go back to December of 2020, we're showing about 1,700 copies in a PSA 9 grade. Now, if we go to now, roughly over the last couple of weeks, there's 2,700 copies roughly, so about 1,000 more of those in existence than there was 3 years ago. Price points, of course, $250. If we go back to January 2020, about a $250, maybe $300 card. Even after prices have moved down quite a bit on this card, it's still an $800, $900 card for Mahomes. Of course, those 10s are sitting at about $4,500, $5,000. So when I look at this PSA 9 pop report, this one is a little bit, there's an asterisk by it. And the reason is because how many people cracked the PSA 9 to resend it into PSA to try to get a 10 over and over and over? Because if you can just crack one and land it into a 10 slab, you're talking about a 5, 6x, on that price point. It's $800, $900 for a 9. It's $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, and it was higher at one point, for that Mahomes rookie card in a PSA 10. So that's always kind of the interesting thing, with population. It depends on the card too. How many people are cracking PSA 8 Scottie Pippen rookie cards trying to get into a 9 or a 10? Probably not near as many as the Mahomes, the Prism Mahomes card. Same goes for the Staubach. I mean, maybe there's a bunch of people that are cracking out PSA 6s and trying to get into a higher PSA grade for the Staubach. Maybe, but we've also seen PSA has really gotten tougher. There's a belief that they're grading tougher these days. So it's kind of like you might crack that Staubach 6 and it comes back a 5 or it comes back a 4. That's always the risk. So this is interesting data. I thought that would be worth sharing. As we look at price points, there's always such an emphasis on demand for a card. Oh, the demand for the player is down because of the performance. That player is just, they retired. No, it's an aging veteran. Nobody really cares anymore. But there's just been such a huge supply growth in graded cards here over the last couple of years. So we have to take that into account as well. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below, friends. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.